What time is it? It's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. It's howdy doody time. Oh no, that's not me. I never watched Howdy Doody. That puppet and Bob. I think his name was Bob. Now I'm wearing my coat. Or two coats. Because when it gets around 70, 72, or around 70, my muscles get cold. Oh well. Geez, I already dropped it. Today is 5/14/2015, Thursday at 8:37 a.m. in the morning, a.m. Got four M things. That way I don't say mushroom, and I say marshmallows. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Yeah. Okay, so 1, 2. This is the easy way. This is the easy one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, okay. 1. Make that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah. Okay, one more easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can almost hear them. You can almost hear them, they're so stale. Now the balls. Now the balls. It looks kind of weird that way. Should have 2 on that side. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Now, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then 1, 2, 3. Oh. 1. Oh. Jeez, Dan. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oh, yeah, they got a little bit cocky. Got a little bit cocky. Get that cocky in your way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, I make that distinctive. I make that pudding distinctive. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. That's kind of the end of that. Like I said in my push-up video, if you know why my ants died in a half-gallon container with an airtight lid, and it was watery because I washed it out, so it's a little bit watery inside. So the ants had nowhere to go to be dry, but they had food and water. So, but it's a plastic container. It's an airtight container, and it was watery all over. So it's one of those 3 things that killed my ants. They didn't last the night. They're all dead. Red ants, and I tried black ants. Both times they're all dead in that half-gallon plastic container that's airtight and it's watery. And see, it's plastic container, airtight and watery. So now they're in an all-glass olive jar, about this big, about that big around. And the container itself is dry. I I have a 2-liter cap with water in it for him, and I put some food in there for him. And before that, though, he lasted the night. He lasted the night without dying. So it must have been because the container was dry and he had airflow. I don't know. If you know why my ants died in the plastic container and not in the glass container that's not airtight, leave it in the comments. Thanks. And you know what I say, same time, same channel. See you then. You gotta really watch how you handle that phone. It's skinny and it's small and it's got rounded edges and it's got the big screen that if you touch anywhere it screws stuff up. So that's why I have a hard time handling it. But I got my marshmallows. My marshmallows, not mushrooms, marshmallows. And they're getting staler and staler, harder and harder, and slipperier. They're slippery. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's the easy way. Now 1, 2, 3, 4. Now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's always the hard way. It's always the hard way that gets me. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. There. 1. You know, an easy way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Just do that. I'll snap the wrist on that one. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I see what it is. You gotta get where you're not really thinking that much in what you're doing. It's like trying to develop what do you call it? A natural. It's kind of you're trying to develop a natural, something you don't really have to think about. Like when I say the year, like this year, after a certain few months, you don't even think about it. You don't even think what you say. You just say it. 2015, you know. Sometimes you say years earlier, years later too, though. But most of the time, you'll say after a few months, after your new year starts, you start saying the new year without even thinking about it. 2015. That's why when it goes into the new year, like when it goes into 2016, I'll write 2015 a lot. So it's like a natural, and then you try to unlearn that natural every year. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that's good enough. Good enough for me. Now the balls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But see, on the natural side, if I don't think about it, I can do it all day probably, even though I screw up a lot. But that's the unnatural way to do it. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3. See, it's unnatural that way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No. Start over. 1, 2. Because you can't be a clumsy juggler. You gotta be precise. You can't be clumsy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now natural, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That way. It's natural. You gotta develop naturally on this. The way I naturally don't do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, I'm a lot quicker and I'm more accurate on the natural side. And I'm slower, way slower and less accurate on the side I'm not used to. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you know what I always say, same time, same channel. See you then. Here's my marshmallows. And I don't have my glasses on. See, they're over there. I didn't put them on yet from my push-ups. But try to do it without them. It's like I just can't see a lot of small print. But as far as seeing, I can see, okay. Just not detailed outline. So today is 5/14/2015 at 6:41 p.m. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Oop. 1, 2, 3. Shit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. So now the easy way again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now the hard way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. See, I'm going faster now. That's good. Okay, that's the marshmallows. Now the balls. Okay. So now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, that's the balls. Oops. It's the balls. Okay, now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so now I'll try it the easy way with only one ball. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, now with the hard way with two balls over there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Bing. There you go. I missed a couple times, but oh well. When I don't miss often, like days at a time, then I start learning how to juggle. Cause then I'm coordinated. Then all I gotta do is worry about the ball in the air. Cause I know how to supply my hand by putting. I know how to supply my hand. I know how to supply it. And that's coordination. So that's what I'm working on right now, is coordination, not really juggling. Because as you see, I ain't juggling. I mean, there's by no means am I juggling. I'm just getting my coordination down. So when I do juggle, I won't have to think about it as much. Because same thing in karate. Okay, same thing in karate is when you go through your katas, you know, your katas, yeah, of the different fluent movements. You get where you're doing it with power, you know, with something behind it, and you don't have to think about it. So it's almost instinctive. That's why you do katas. That's why you do different katas. You have to know 5 katas to achieve the black belt in my style. And by knowing means you don't make mistakes. It's like a juggling act, but juggling is more talented and requires more coordination and timing, especially timing, than karate does. But I knew all 5 katas through the black belt. I knew all 5 katas without even thinking about it. Now, right now, I can't do. So I can do 1. I can almost do 2. It's been years since I've done it. So it programs your mind, just like juggling does, and anything else that requires you to do certain things at certain times. Anything else, you know. So it makes you become almost natural, like with the katas. Makes you become a lot more fluent, you know, than if I just went in and started doing it, you know, and trying to watch others to do it. It takes time. It takes time to become fluent in anything. And Bruce Lee was the master of all masters. He's considered being a superhuman person because he was only 140 pounds and 5'4". He was a short, skinny guy, and he could deliver a punch of a guy, you know, 300 or 400 pounds. You know, he could deliver a punch, you know, of a guy 300 or 400 pounds, where he's only 140 pounds. He proved that by daily exercise with over a 300-pound workout bag. He can move that. He could have that son of a bitch swinging from wall to wall, man. 300 pounds swinging, and keep it swinging. See, he was a master. He was the master of all masters. He's considered to be a superhuman being, and I see why. Because I did a little bit of study on Bruce Lee, and he had super strength, no doubt about it. He had super strength. If this guy got in a UFC match with anybody, he would become the winner. He would be the winner. Even Gracie wouldn't even have a chance, because his style is, in my opinion, the whole Gracie style is based on one thing, and that's to get you on the ground, lock your arms, lock your legs with his legs, lock your arms with his arms, and then do short little punches or palm heels until you submit. That's basically the Gracie style. They rely on one thing. Okay, so that's why Gracie was victorious. I know he's at least 2 times, I think 3 times, but UFC world champ. Because after that, the last time he was in the ring, he limped out of the ring. He could barely walk out of the ring, but he could walk out of the ring. I gotta give him credit for that. But I wouldn't want to know the Gracie style. I mean, you can watch his match and see their style. Gracie is not the ultimate style at all. It's a weak style. As far as I'm concerned, it's the weakest style out there. It's just people were unaware of his getting you down on the ground, locking your arms and legs until a couple times. They saw it a couple times, then yeah, okay, then all you gotta do is avoid that, you win. That's it. That's basically it. Ken Shamrock is the one who proved it first. He had Gracie, and he was in Gracie's, the final technique, getting your arms and legs not locked. He was in that, and he held his thumb like this. He held it like that for 5 minutes. And all he had to do, and it's against UFC rules to thumb someone in the eye, okay? Because that would automatically relieve everything Gracie had, the arms and the legs locked, and he'd be like this, because all he could focus on is that pain from that thumb in that eye. That's all he would be able to focus on, nothing else. And that's why Ken Shamrock did that. He held it up there 5 minutes, Jack. He could have wham, and it went all over. That's why the Gracie style can't be a street technique. The Gracie style is not a street technique. It's a rules technique. And the UFC was based on the rules of Gracie because they're the ones that started it. So he had the advantage right stepping in the ring. And that's the only reason why Gracie won a couple times. because Gracie family started the UFC. They want to prove to the world that the Gracie style was the best. And what he really proved to the world is Gracie style is the weakest style of all styles. That's what he really proved. And Ken Shamrock just verified it. Because all he had to do with that thumb up there like that, all he had to do is jam one time and it's done. And he could have jammed a lot of times. He would have been blind going out of that match. Ken Shamrock would have won. But he proved it. Ken Shamrock is the first person who proved it. The deadliest man in the world, Ken Shamrock, the most dangerous man in the world. He's the one that proved it. And he didn't do it. He didn't come down with the thumb because he didn't want to be kicked out of UFC. Because that'd be breaking the rules with open hand technique, which is illegal as hell in UFC. It always has been. And the Gracies know that. And that's why they made it illegal. That's one reason, but the main reason is because it can maim you. Like I said, Gracie would have walked out blind, permanently blind. So that's a maiming technique. Thumb in the eye, that would be a maiming technique. And any maiming technique has always been illegal in the UFC, always. I mean, I can understand that. But Ken Shamrock is the one who proved it to Gracie. He lost the ball, of course, on the weak technique, of course, because he proved it wasn't valid. There's no way in hell you could use it on the street. If you get someone in the street like that, you're done. You wouldn't even want to get anybody in that technique where your hands and legs are locked like that, because it's a simple technique, and everybody, most street people and people who don't even take karate know that if you thumb someone in the eye, it's done. I mean, there ain't no really question. Their brain's only 2 inches in, and you could kill someone like that. So that Gracie technique, I have no confidence whatsoever on it, other than taking someone down. And as long as they're following the rules, as long as they're following the rules, that's an okay technique. It's not the best technique no more, because everybody found out about that, and they have, it's just like anything else, you find something better. But that's my spiel on UFC, and it's guaranteed Gracie's technique, is no longer that great big a deal. It's not that big a deal no more. But I say, same time, same channel. See you next time. I have to clear one thing up on the Gracie style, on the Gracie and UFC, the Gracie style. I have to clear one thing up, so I don't have to make another video about this, and why the Gracie style is a weak style, and why it should have been from the first UFC called a ground clinch. It should have been called a ground clinch. Once Gracie gets your hands like this and your legs like that, that should be a clinch on the ground. It should be a clinch, like in boxing. When they're boxing like this and when they're locked up, that's called a clinch, and they automatically get separated in boxing. And the Gracies knew that. Everybody knew that. They just wanted to make sure that the Gracie style was going to win. And Gracie did win like 3 times. He was a UFC champion 3 times. But then they started losing fans. They started losing fans after like the 2nd time. Gracie did that because they're on the ground, for a half an hour. They're on the ground locked up. It's called a ground clinch. And the UFC finally did recognize this as a ground clinch. That's why there's no way in hell that a person who knows the Gracie style can be any good anymore, because that's considered a ground clinch. Like in boxing, they box and box, and they get together where they're not making any progress, and they're clinched. they're separated. And that's the same thing with UFC now. If they get in that clinch, Gracie's clinch, that's Gracie's clinch. It's not a submission hold. It's just a hold where he gets you in where he can make a very, very little bit of progress at a time, and it takes him a half an hour to have you submit, in a clinch. So they were losing fans left and right. UFC was losing fans left and right because they didn't want to see him laying on the ground for a half an hour, like in boxing. When they get together where they're not making any progress and it's called a clinch, they get separated. See, the problem is with Gracie is every time he gets you in a ground clinch and he has to be separated, that's when he gets hurt. And that's why the last time he walked out of that ring, he was limping, barely able to even walk. He had to have two people help him out of the ring. Okay, because that's now called the ground clinch, and they won't allow that no more, which is great. Because that almost eliminates the Gracie style, period. Because that's what they relied on, getting you on that ground clinch. And it's not a technique. It's not a street technique, like I said, because of what Ken Shamrock showed when he was in the UFC with Gracie is with that thumb in the eye. Not only the thumb, you can do a Chinese thrust. You can do a Chinese thrust in his eye because you're both right here, right close. And it do go like that. I mean, it's a short movement. Like Gracie moves. Gracie was doing the palm heel all the time. Palm heel. Same thing, except for you're focusing all your pressure right here on these two fingers. It's going to jam you in the eye. And guess what? That's going to go 3 inches in your skull, and it's going to kill you. But that's illegal. It's open hand technique, so it's illegal in UFC. Just like now, the Gracie style clinch on the ground where your hands and feet are locked up, that's called a clinch, and you're separated. And every time Gracie separates, he gets hurt because he's got to redo that and try to get you back down on the ground and get you in that clinch again. And the clinch, it's almost an illegal thing. You don't want to, like in boxing, you're separated when we're in a clinch. I mean, right away, almost right away, once you're in a clinch. And that's what it should be. That's what it should be in the UFC, and call that the Gracie clinch, because that's a clinch. That's definitely a clinch. There's no doubt about it. That's a clinch. And everybody, they were losing UFC fans left and right. And they didn't want to lose a lot of UFC fans left and right, so they made that what it should have been from day one, a clinch, a ground clinch. With boxing, it's a stand-up clinch because you don't ever get on the ground in boxing. It's illegal. You can't box on the ground. I mean, they don't cut. You gotta wait until the guy gets up before you can start hitting him again in boxing. But in boxing, when they're boxing and they can't box no more, they're in a clinch where neither of them can box. It's called a clinch. Same thing. It's the exact same thing with the Gracie move, the final Gracie move. They get you in a clinch. It's called a ground clinch because you're in a move where you're in a position where you can't really fight. You can't really, except for little stupid stuff, and it ain't gonna matter because, especially on the street, if it was a street fight, you wouldn't. If you got someone in a Gracie clinch, like I said, you can Chinese thrust. It's called a Chinese thrust when you thrust in like that with your hand open. It's because karate chop is like this, but a Chinese thrust is with these two fingers here, and then these two fingers follow as you go into someone, like an eye. That's called a Chinese thrust or an eye thrust, and it'll kill you. So as soon as you got me in let's say you got me in the Gracie clinch, I'm gonna do that Chinese thrust on you, bud, because it's a short movement, but it's all your power focused here, and if you do that on a soft spot of the body, which is your eye, then you're kind of done, and it just takes one thrust, one good thrust, and you're done. As Ken Shamrock proved to Gracie, that when he held his thumb like this, he was going to thumb him. He had his thumb, he was going to thumb him right in the eye. But he never did, because that's always been against the UFC rule, because that'll maim you. That'll make you blind permanently. It'll blind you permanently. So it's a maiming technique. And that right there, just that simple technique right there, thumb in the eye, simple technique. Everybody knows that. Even people who don't know karate or any kind of defense, they know that if you focus your finger on something, you know, like the eye, you know, it's going to kill you. Your eye's only 2 inches behind, your brain's only 2 inches beyond your eye. 2 inches, and right there's, you know, that's what I need right there to kill you. And right here is even worse. And right here, you know, that'll do the trick. anything like that, shoot. They should have made that from day one, but the Gracies wanted to prove their style could at least beat everybody, you know, because their style is evolved around their rules. So as soon as Gracie walked on the ring the first time, he had the advantage, and he knew it. He had the advantage because they knew that they weren't going to be broke up on a ground clinch, which they should have been. Then they wouldn't have to worry about losing all the UFC fans like they were when it continued, like the third bout, or the third UFC, or I think it even went farther than that. But finally they said, "Screw this! This is a ground clinch," and they should have done that before. That was, but Gracie would have lost then. Gracie would have lost every time probably. He would probably never won. They would have called that a ground clinch, which they should have in the first place. I just want to clear that up because that's one thing I didn't clear up when I said that Gracie style was a very weak style, and it's not a street technique at all. I mean, you couldn't use that on the street. There's no way in hell. You'd die using that where you lock your hands and feet, because all I have to do is thumb you. That's all I have to do to break that hold. And not only to break that hold, I could kill you. So it's getting you in a position. So it's getting you in a position where the other guy, man, he can hurt you bad. He can maim you because you're right there close. Bam, you're done. I just want to clear that up, and that's why the Gracie style is the weakest style, and it can't never be used as a street technique, because most people on the street would know that. Oh, I'm in a Gracie clinch. As soon as they feel that, boom, you're done. You know, even before you got it, just before you got it in fully locked, your arms and legs, it'd probably be a thumb or a Chinese thrust or an eye thrust to your eye. That's probably what it'd be. So it can't be a street technique. Why even learn that? That's like stupid, because it's getting you in a very vulnerable position where you're gonna be dying soon. You would never want to get someone in that position on the street. No way. Just ain't no way. You wouldn't want to. That would be the worst position you could get someone in. And they're trying to say that's the ultimate style. I laugh at that. I laugh at the Gracie style. I laugh at it because it's, one, very boring. Two, it's not worth learning because of that. Because if you get in that position, you're putting yourself at and you're putting your life at risk because of the Chinese thrust or the thumb or a finger in the eye. You're putting your sight at risk in that ground clinch. And that's what it is. It's a ground clinch. They thought just because they had that ground clinch that was the ultimate style. Come on, that's the only thing really Gracie knew. I mean, he knew some other valid. He knew some other valid. What do you call it? Like the armbar, valid submission holds, but that's not what he relied on. He always relied on the ground clinch. Always. That's what he relied on. That's the premium of the premium of their style. And that's why I say Gracie style is the weakest style, and that proves it. Like I always say, I'm Dan. Same time, Same channel. See you then. And don't learn the Gracie style because it'll get you killed on the street. The Gracie style will get you killed on the street.